beautiful Patreons, and welcome to your July 2021 Patreon reward video. This is a part of this month's reward, which the theme was Summer Witch. Over the course of the month, I went through and did some design aspect, which I did do a post. If you have missed that, please go check it out when I go through the whole design aspect of Layla and Pitta. Layla and Pitta are two very happy, relaxed people who own a beautiful summer bar by the beach. I had two sort of like design aspects that I originally was going to go for this month's print. One of them was going to be at the bar, where we were going to have some of the other Plant Witch characters sort of like show up in the background. And the other one was just, hey, let's show how big Pitta is against Layla, because Layla is not very tall. She's around about 3'4". She is not very tall at all. And I wanted that sort of like aspect of her being very chilled, very relaxed. Maybe they've come from a day of foraging, heading back to the bar after a good day's work. And this is sort of like the design aspect. I wanted it to feel very chilled, very relaxed, and some palm trees in the background, and not go overly complicated with it. I think we could do, like, in the future, maybe go through and design Layla's bar and show what Layla's bar by the beach would look like. For this month, I just really wanted to do a fun, chilled, relaxed print. I wanted you to feel the chilled out vibes through the illustration. As always, this is using the Procreate program up on the Apple iPad. I'm using the Apple iPad 11-inch. I think this is the 2020 edition with the Apple 2nd generation pencil. For the brushes that I'm using, my favorite, I really like to use dry ink. It gives this beautiful texture to the lines. I've also been finding that I've been using a lot of the artistic brushes when coloring lately, because it gives me that beautiful extra teeth on the lines itself, as well as the coloring. This original concept was actually sketched out, so what I did was took a picture of the sketch, refined the sketch, and went from there. Pitta's design I absolutely love. He is based on a mixture of like a dragon with an aardvark, I nearly said an avocado, thanks, and a sort of mixture of that with Appa from The Last Airbender, sort of mashing all those designs together. We paid homage to the original dragon design by giving him whiskers and a beard, and giving him extra limbs as well. And I really wanted that elongated tail so that when he curls up, he just looks like a giant dragon fruit. I originally was torn between making the critter for Layla. I was torn between designing it based on a papaya or a dragon fruit, and a dragon fruit seemed a little bit more hardy, especially if they are constantly climbing trees and being able to gather materials. Originally, these two were going to look very different. Now, I've talked about it in the design process sort of post that I've done, but originally Pitta was going to be a tiny little dragon that lived around Layla's neck, sort of acting like a cooling dragon for those warm days. But with Layla being a much shorter character than the others, we thought it'd be really good. When I was talking through the design process on streaming, I thought it would be really good to have like a really big critter to go opposite Layla. Since we really haven't had big critters showcased in the Plant Witch universe, because some of these critters, they are found, they end up being with their owner, and some of these critters are made. So I have talked about it in the podcast, and I've also talked about it in the post, but in case you missed that, Layla and Pitta actually used to live in the city. Layla had a very mundane job. She sort of worked at a library doing a lot of paperwork, and it was sort of just like it paid the bills. It was never really something that she was passionate about, and it's sort of like later in life where she found her calling. She always knew that she loved the beach and wanted to work by the beach, but it always felt like something came up, and this is why I like to feel like it's not a midlife crisis, as people like to call it. It's more just finding her feet with what she wanted to do. Some people find their journey a little bit later in life, and that's completely okay. And that's sort of like the vibe I get with Layla. She's spent all of her life like pushing paper, like living, scraping by, and to not really get to her dream. And now she has a dream. She lives by the beach in a tiny little village, selling drinks that give you a boost of energy, or boost like a certain trait here and there. So say like you wanted to say if Layla noticed that you were lacking confidence, she would subconsciously make drinks. She's never really had a strong magic ability. It's more of a latent magic ability, much like in the, if you've ever read the Diana Wynne Jones Howl's Moving Castle books, Sophie in that series, spoiler if you haven't read it, she has a latent ability to, when she makes her hats, she has a latent magical ability to say like, if she says the hat, you're going to be worn by the fanciest person, and give confidence to that person wherever they walk, that hat would then give that person that confidence, that boost. And it was sort of like a latent magical ability that Sophie in Howl's Moving Castle wasn't aware of. And that's kind of how I see it with Layla. She doesn't have the strongest of magical abilities, but like if she sees like someone's down, these drinks, people would say, are out of this world. So their favourite drinks, I named them all because I was being silly and I was going through, and we thought it'd be really funny if there were puns. I was talking to my partner. The coconut is Coconut Dream, or Coconuts About You. That is Layla's favourite drink. It's a very dreamy, sort of smooth beverage. It gives a little boost of confidence and a nice warm calming ability to it. Pitta's favourite drink is the Watermelon Crush, mainly because it's the biggest drink that they make, made out of a giant hollowed watermelon, or watermelon sugar high. It sort of gives you a boost of like energy, like sort of like an energy drink, but not quite bad for you. It's made from watermelon and limes. We have the Apple of My Eye, which is sort of like an apple cider style beverage. There's the pineapple drink, which is pining apple, which is a terrible pun, I know, but you know I love me a terrible pun. There's the dragon fruit one, which I never had a pun for the dragon fruit drink. There is the honeydew melon, which I called it Honey Do You Want This? And the last one, because we had that one, was, I believe, my brain isn't working right now, but I was researching about drinks that could be made into hollowed out fruit, because I was like, well, if she's going to have the drinks made in fruit, might as well. So if you were part of the physical tiers, you would have had the sticker pack as a part of your physical tiers, and it has like all the stickers and with a fake menu on it, and I really love them. I just think it's a really cute way to like show off the stickers. I don't know, I like puns, don't sue me. Going back to the sort of like design, I really, basically what I did was I put the flats down first and then built up the colour layers throughout, mainly because I knew that I wanted to create this sort of like dappled effect on top. I wasn't quite successful with it. I should have pushed it further, if I'm honest. I think after I did all the flats, I went over with a purple overlay to just like deepen shadowy areas. I was actually listening to quite a few podcasts while doing this. I was umming and ahhing for ages. I was so indecisive on what I wanted to do, because I really love the vibe of this print, but I was so indecisive with the colours. It's been procrastination month, I'll tell you that for free. It's just been so warm. I've really struggled this month with creation, but I had a lot of fun with this. Layla and Pitta are coming up there with like some of my favourites. I imagine that Layla is she's very bubbly, very outgoing, is sort of like the mum friend of the group, not only because she's older, but because she has very maternal instincts about her. Like whenever she sees if any of the Planet Witch characters are down, she'll be like, well, what's all this then? Come on, get your heads up, it's time to get on. Like she's very caring in that sort of aspect where she doesn't like to see a sad face, especially at the beach. Pitta is like very big, fluffy dog energy. I imagine that they constantly knock over stools at the bar. Is not aware of their size at all. You know when you see those videos of like the dogs and they're just like trying to sit on their owner's lap, because they still don't realize that they're not a tiny puppy anymore. That's what I imagine like Pitta thinks that they are. I like to think that as they left the city, it's sort of like when you have like fish in a tank. Pitta grew to the eventual size that he was always big, but he got so much bigger when he left the city. And I don't know, I love these two. I really, really do. They're just so much fun to draw, and I'm so grateful to have been able to design these two characters this month and have a lot of fun with them. And I hope you've enjoyed like seeing the process of this print and understand like the design process behind the character as well. Yet again, if you haven't seen that post, please do check it out. It goes through the design process of both the characters, gives you a little bit more background behind the characters as well. There is also the podcast which is going up, which I'm talking a little bit more about character design and my process with character design as well. But this is pretty much it. I'm just deepening areas, as you can see here. Like I had this like sort of dappled effect, it wasn't really working, so I sort of tweaked it afterwards where I still was able to deepen parts of the shadow. It was just really fun to do, if I'm honest. I like character design, it makes me happy. I can't wait for next month's rewards. From what I last checked, I believe Princess of the Sea is winning by 1 vote. It was so close between the two final things that it's insane. But I hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for helping the garden grow, and I'll see you next month. As always, folks, stay creative.